Stacey Begley on Facebook says, I'd love to see the lag fixed. My computer's no slouch on graphics, but crowded areas are still problematic. Would HTML5 mean smoother gameplay? I guess this is in reference to, well, we mentioned HTML5 not so long ago, so I guess that's in reference to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's in short, yes. Lag is always a tough one for us, because what does lag mean? Is it network loading time? Is it low frame rates? Is it the loading between map squares? But in short, we're trying to tackle all of those, and the expectation is if your computer can run HTML5 adequately, it can be significantly elevated experience.
Yeah, it's interesting that people will shout about lag in the game, and sometimes it's things that we could do something about, right? Whether it's sort of, graphics that are running in the area, the amount of players that they've got running about, but sometimes it's their network, and there's not a lot that we can do about that. So I guess that's why sometimes it's frustrating when we hear people complaining about lag, but actually the issues that they describe, or the setups that they're running, or the networks that they're part of, aren't necessarily anything to do with us. But it's the reason why we want to provide sort of lower settings, I guess, so you can turn all your settings right down. So if you don't have a very good connection, you can still enjoy RuneScape. But as Mark was saying, one of the key things about HTML5, fingers crossed, the game looks better, sounds better, feels better, and runs faster. And that's really the kind of bottom line of what we're trying to achieve.
It can clear on more devices. So.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
I'll ask you about that in a bit, yeah. So, one there from the Wilderness Guardians. Hello, Wilderness Guardians. How you doing? Any updates planned for Wilderness to revitalise the art of PKing?
Yes. So, good. So we've got
Next question.
We've got a big project planned for early next year, specifically involving the Wilderness, and it will be some of the activities that really start this whole thing rolling for next year. So what some of the cool ideas we've had are kind of like war bands walking across the wilderness, where you've got generals and their rank and file, and they're sort of going to be fighting each other, and you can choose how you get involved. We're also looking at putting some more unique resources in the wilderness, just to encourage non-PKers to go in there. We've been looking at all sorts of really, really cool ideas to do with the way that we can encourage more types of people in the wilderness. We're also looking at things like player jacking, specifically. Evolution of Combat, for example, will fix the issue where when you eat food, you can suddenly drop out of combat with your opponent and someone else can come in and get involved. That's going to get fixed. We've also had lots more interesting conversations about pile jumping, player jumping. So there's lots of small things that we're planning to do, and a big old update at the beginning of the year.
Adventure Lily on Facebook says, when will RuneScape be playable on different devices?
So there's no date as yet, but it's something the team are looking at and actively working on as we speak. So hopefully early next year.
Yeah, that would be exciting.
That would be very exciting.
Yeah, a lot of the tech that we're working on now allows us to think about those kind of things in the future.
Oh, this is a good one. George Fox on Facebook, has development for the new skill started yet?
Yes. So first proper reveal of the day. We are currently working on 2 skills. We're working on a gathering skill. So the kind of skill, when I say gathering skill, I mean things like mining, woodcutting, or things like runecrafting, where you're actually gathering the materials. And then another skill, which is more like a finishing skill, or a production skill, as we call them, where you're actually doing cool things, making new things to use in the game. Those 2 skills won't necessarily be directly linked together. I'm not thinking about like a new mining and smithing, but it's that kind of thing. So we're looking at a new gathering skill and a new production skill, and both of those are in development right now, and they are also linked to the whole change in law that we've got planned for next year.
Hogstorms on the forums. People have now been waiting for more than 2 years to even see a single update in construction, let alone a large one. Because of this, construction is one of the least trained skills. The skill has been in dire need of a large revamp. Looking at the graphics of player-owned houses, when will construction finally see these updates?
So we have got a construction update planned for next year, which is specifically to encourage people to train their own construction levels. So benefits that you can have in your house that only you could use, because a lot of construction you can go to anybody's house to do it. And actually prayer training is still pretty good to do via your altars in your player owned house. I've got a graphics team that are absolutely chomping at the bit to rework the houses. They would love to do that, and I intend fully to allow them to do that. Just as soon as we've done all the stuff that we're trying to do, right now to do with reworking the surface areas, upgrading player armor, and all of those kind of things. I guess so. That's kind of short term.
Okay.
Long term, there are some really, really cool things that we'd like to do with player-owned house. I was chatting to Mark this week about the ideas of things like player-owned villages, player-owned towns, player-owned cities, and the idea of actually taking these cool houses that a player builds and building a street out of it, so you've actually got neighbours, you've got people that live near you.
Your friends.
Yeah, your friends. So building like a little village out of you and your friends' houses, those kind of things.
Append Miku on the forum says, do you have any plans in the future for releasing new continents in far-off lands such as the notorious Eastern lands?
It's a bit of a reveal. The players will be exploring elements of the Eastern lands via the player-owned ports update. So their ships and the captains that they send out will be doing things to do with the Eastern lands and bringing you the spoils. I personally am much more interested in finishing the existing continents right now and, making that world map complete than introducing new continents, but it's not something that I don't want to do. And I'd love to have a time when the players can sort of set foot on the Eastern lands themselves, or even look back at some of the really cool ideas that we've had almost 10 years ago now to do with, islands run by lizard men, all sorts of things like that. They're cool ideas. Right now I'm committed to finishing what we're doing on the standard surface world, if you like. But don't think that for a second that it's all going to just stay the same as it is. We have some massive, massive changes planned for things on the surface world.
Cool. Lucine Sweet says, do you have plans in the long term to increase the skills level limits into 120? You may have said otherwise in the past, but the game changes by the day. She knows you.
She does.
And we will seriously need that change in the future.
No. I don't want to raise it beyond 99. I think 99 is enough to ask of people. I think going to 120 with Dungeoneering was the right kind of thing to do, because we wanted to sort of generate this feeling of end game in RuneScape, and also the XP potential at the high levels of Dungeoneering are crazy compared to the other skills. The progression curve in RuneScape, particularly the XP curve, I should say, is particularly steep, and I'm not interested in taking it any higher. I don't think that would be the right thing to do.
Okay. We really want to go wider,
Yeah.
deeper in terms of new skills and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. I think that's the best.
All right. Joke on the forums says, will we ever see a day-night transition in terms of lighting, similar to what you did with the clan citadels within the entire game? So day-night cycles in RuneScape.
Sounds cool. I'm not sure the development effort would be worthwhile, personally. I think there would be better things that we could do with our time. Having said that, I know that it's something that's cool and it's exciting, and the new graphical tech that we're playing with at the moment would allow us to do better things with our lighting. It's really quite cool, some of the things that we've been looking at, this kind of dynamic lighting, the way that it affects the environments that you're in, flickering flames. We've got elements of that in RuneScape right now. We could do a lot more with it. So yeah, it sounds cool. I'm just not sure I think it would be worthwhile.
Next up is Astarius on the forums. Are there any plans to either remove player-hosted gambling from the game or make a casino for them to operate in? Love this question.
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's things that Mark and I have talked about a lot. So previously, I never thought that, I've always believed that gambling wasn't right in RuneScape, but actually, when I thought about the activities that they were involved with, actually, it wasn't too far away from the kind of things that you do in the wilderness, really. RuneScape players are looking for high risk, high reward gameplay. And actually, the idea of putting money on, putting some gold pieces on the result of a flip of a coin is high risk gameplay. The downside with what's currently going on in the game is that the way that players are gambling, there's no rules to support them. So they are at the mercy of being scammed, which is a real shame. And I had some good meetings this week with some of the customer support team on how we can do more to help people who've been scammed and stop scamming. And also we know that, and we've proved that a lot of the money which has gone through different hands ends up going to gold farmers being sold, which is something illegal that we don't tolerate in any way at all. So I'm committed to removing the problem that we currently have in the game and giving the players an alternative, something that is similar to the kind of gambling that they're doing at the moment, but something that we're more comfortable with in terms of the way that it works in the game world, and also something where we think that we can give them the support that they need.
To not get scammed.
Yeah, exactly. There are a lot of better ways and safer ways that we can provide that kind of high risk gameplay without all of the downsides that we currently have, and I'm definitely 100% committed to doing that next year.
Andy UK says, where does Jagex see RuneScape being in 2 to 5 years' time?
In an even more awesome place than it currently is.
The world's #1 adventure.
Yeah.
Online adventure.
We want to be the biggest and best online adventure, which we believe that we already are. Yeah. We just want to keep going and make sure that
leave people in no doubt.
Yeah.
Go to new countries, new devices,
yeah,
and amazing content.
Think about how much the game's evolved since 2001, you know. I'd like to see it evolve as much again.
Brilliant.